Hey there, hi there, ho there. It is Fridays for Future. Fridays for Future is the day that we look after young people. Basically, that's it. So, you know that I'm running a GoFundMe campaign. So please try to help out at least maybe a small donation or share it with somebody who has the a little bit of a little bit of funding for SustainaClaus and SustainaClaus. And really what I want to communicate is that there's so many sort of positive and negative things happening in the world these days. It can be a little bit overwhelming, and I've just been talking to people here this Friday, and a lot of people are actually leaving this country because they're frustrated and they see a lot of not good things coming in. And this, I have friends all over the world, and these friends are not just here; they're all over the planet. And more normally they think of Canada as a place where everybody wants to be and it's so great. Well, wherever you are in the world, we're all suffering from the same overwhelm, and our governments are they're doing things that really aren't in the best interest of the population. So let's get back to ConscienceLAnd, right? Whatever happens with the military-industrial complex and all the rest of them that are trying to make the world in their image, trying to make the world just serve them, enslaving us. There's not a whole lot we can do about it except not put money into their hands, right? We can stop buying products from those countries, companies, people, ideologies that are really not helping you. They're just exploiting you. So we can do that. But I think it's really about ConscienceLAnd, and it's about how do we heal ourselves, heal our communities, and through healing ourselves and healing our communities, heal the earth, right? Heal yourself, heal your community, heal the earth. How do we do that? I mean, how are we going to do that? And, so many people throughout history. I mean, Rudolf Steiner, I was just reading about him in the early part of the century, or the previous century, a long time ago. The Rudolf Steiner schools, these are schools that are throughout Europe mostly. There's probably some in Canada, in North America too. But he was a spiritual person, and an educator. And the message through all of these people, I mean, we've had many, right? We've had many people telling us we have to heal ourselves. Right, and in ConscienceLAnd we use this phrase LOVE, and you know what it stands for, right? Lifestyle of voluntary effort. Love, LOVE, lifestyle of voluntary effort. This is how we operate. This is what makes the planet spin around. I mean, this is what makes the universe, the universe. It is the ether. It is the dark matter. It is the connection. It is the space between the potentials. It's from the electrons, the photons coming in and raising their level to the next state. That's the space between that. That's the potential. That's the love. That's the lifestyle of energy, effort. Right? Energy. You could replace it with energy, actually. Lifestyle of voluntary energy. It's voluntary. It's not compelled. Okay? You don't have to do it. Like a mother and their child. The bond between mother and child is voluntary. It's a voluntary effort. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of people today, and you look at our leaders, really messed up, traumatized children. So, that's the situation. We have an enormous amount of unhealed people around the world. Not just the children of Gaza. That's the obvious thing, is the trauma happening to, not just the children, of course, but, especially the children. the trauma being inflicted, the constant, threat, the fear, the never-ending harassment, and the starvation, and all of these factors. Imagine if you're a little kid, and you're enduring this. But you're loved by your family, and your family's also suffering, but they're trying to, create as stable an environment as humanly possible as you're a little kid and you're just growing up. All of this is incredibly traumatizing, right? An entire generation, in fact, quite a few generations, the older people, the middle-aged people, the younger people, and the kids, these are all being traumatized. And we're being traumatized too. I'm being traumatized. I look on the video and I see this horrific stuff. And it's not only in Palestine. It's also in our own societies. In the United States, it's the ICE thing and many other problems, but that's sort of the most obvious one. Right now, people in masks snatching people off the streets. That's pretty fearful. That's pretty traumatizing, not just for the people who are captured and kidnapped. It's for the people who are watching this. And even if they're not, they're not the skin color that's being captured, they are also traumatized. These are their neighbors, right? So there's a lot of trauma being put forward in the world. And this is why in ConscienceLAND, this is what we're trying to do. And actually today I was working on the Gaia catalog, and this is another thing that we're, rolling out. Please go to sdgbanner.com. SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, banner, the big banner we brought up Everest and around the world, goals, .com, sdgbanner.com, right? Just go there. Become a sustainee. Maybe you want to be a coach. Maybe you are of the stature of being an ambassador in ConscienceLAND, right? Support what we're doing. Be one of the early adopters of citizenship in ConscienceLAND, membership in ConscienceLAND, sustaining ConscienceLAND, building it up. Because when you think about it, what we're entering is a time when almost all the things that you're expecting, or maybe you're relying on, maybe you have money in the bank, right? Or maybe you have stocks, or maybe you have coins or something. This is all in jeopardy. If this, well, it's not a case of if, it's kind of a when all of this falls apart, when all of this crashes, you will be out of money. And if the CBDC stuff comes in, which I hope you're resisting, and the digital ID stuff comes in, your bank accounts will be shut off if you make a comment. Look at what's happening in Britain right now. People going to jail for making comments on here, right? So this is happening now. It's not going to happen sometime in the future. It's happening right now in different places of the world. The trauma, the bank runs, and the bank collapses, and the societal collapse, and the environmental collapse, right? That's a very big thing, right? So how are we going to deal with all these things? By arming ourselves with guns and stocking up with food supplies? It's not a bad idea, right? Just prepare yourself, of course. That's the prepper idea. But fundamentally, you can't do that for very long. You're going to end up, needing your community. You're going to need your neighbors. Hopefully, you're going to be at a level of self-healing, community healing, and understanding the needs of the earth itself, that you will be a very valuable, we call it V to S, a value to society. You will be a big value to society as time progresses. I am not of the belief that everything's going to, everybody's going to die and everything's going to collapse. I don't think so. I think millions will go, because they're absolutely, totally unprepared, right? Millions will, unalive, as they say, millions. As soon as the electricity goes off, certainly all the people in hospitals will go. Many of the people who live in tall apartment buildings will have a heart attack climbing the stairs, or even coming down the stairs. All of that will happen just because there's no electricity. All the food stores, the things will rot. So that's what's going to happen if just the electricity goes off, because of an EMP or a solar flare or anything like that. So that whole scenario, that can happen in a day. That can happen tomorrow. The environmental side, it's a little longer, the play out, but in some cases, like this AMOC, the North Atlantic circulation of the Gulf Stream, they're very concerned. They don't know when this might happen. It might be in the future quite a bit, decades and decades, or it could be, in years from now. It could happen. We don't know. Nobody knows the exact date, but they're pretty confident that it's going to happen. This means that all of Europe, certainly Northern Europe, certainly England and Ireland, are ruined. Right? That's the end. They don't have any warmth coming off the ocean anymore. It won't be rainy, temperate England. It would be very, very, very cold. Right? More like Scandinavia. So that can happen in our societies very quickly, relatively to your wealth and how your children growing up, the things that you're proud of, maybe your home, maybe your work, but even that is really under threat with the AI. Right? So I don't want to get too depressing because, actually this is Fridays for Future and it's about young people's future. So there is a future for young people, but I believe it's in something like ConscienceLAND. It might not be our project that we've been working on for years. It'll maybe something else better will come along. But for now, there's not many people thinking in terms of ConscienceLAND. There's not many people thinking in terms of a decentralized, borderless network civilization, in which we are neighbors of our neighbors in our own communities and we support each other, mutual benefit. We do that for sure, number one. But in terms of travel or the supplies that we need from different parts of the world, especially from a technical standpoint, they're not going to be in every village. They're not going to be in every community. Even food, even, the delivery of water. If you lose all the people who know how the system works, right? Because you didn't look after them when you didn't think you needed them, but then, as these big disasters, civilization-wide disasters start to occur, these people who were fixing the water systems, who were maintaining the buildings, who were maintaining the roads, who were, processing fuels, who were doing all of this stuff, if they go, you go, right? So that is something very important to begin to think about, because we don't think about this thing. We think we're so immune because we have money and a credit card, and we think that, there's nothing that can harm us, except somebody else who wants to harm us or put us in jail or whatever the government wants to do with you. But the reality is that all of that system will also probably fall into chaos, right? The entire legal and enforcement and peacekeeping system will be in chaos, right? Because they'll be looking to protect their own families, and they'll leave their jobs, and they will leave the side of the billionaires, and the billionaires will then panic because they don't have any, security, and things will get pretty nasty from that standpoint. However, in communities that have a sense of community, that are already related to each other, and I don't mean by blood, I mean, related in terms of, I'm your neighbor, you can trust me, you can count on me, I'm looking out for you, please look out for me. And then of course they do, right? Because that's how communities work. And then we build that, and that is your safety, right? Your safety is, what is it you do to make other people's lives better? So once that starts to happen, we have this network civilization, because whether or not we still have the communication systems, we have the understanding that, well, there's some things that we need. Maybe we're talking computers or electricity or the electrical generation. Well, and wiring and plumbing and all these things, woodworking, building, masonry, all of this, these things won't go away. They're not going to go away. But if you heal yourself, heal your community, the relationship with your community, and by that fact, heal the earth, you become very competent, right? Really. And the acquisition of skills, people will want you. They'll help you achieve skills that maybe you didn't have before, you never have the opportunity to express before. So that's the kind of thing that it can make a really big difference in your existence, in your life, right? Is being in a position you want to help, maybe you don't have the skills, but you go into the community willing to help, LOVE, remember, lifestyle of voluntary effort. You voluntarily go into your community, and that community, most often, unless you've been doing some really bad things, and they're going to welcome you. People want people, especially young people, they want to welcome them. They want them to be part of the community. So that's a little bit of the message for Fridays for Future, which I've been doing for years and years, ever since I met Greta Thunberg back in 2000, I think it's 2018. And she's turned out to be what an incredibly courageous young woman. People don't agree with all the things she does, maybe the way she does it, but she's her own person, but she's so brave. She's so courageous. I can relate to her standing up for her beliefs and for children, particularly. For people, for innocent people. And people who are currently starving. This peace deal that was trumpeted around, apparently it's been broken already, and no history of honesty and sticking with their word. So, I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing, and that's really the message of what I'm saying. In ConscienceLAND, there is a spiritual, maybe even spiritual, but I don't want to talk like woo-woo spiritual. It's just people are beginning to realize that they are vessels, right? It depends what your sort of religious beliefs are and so on, but we are. And it depends on where you believe consciousness comes from, and if it's generated by the brain and our experience, or if it's actually, we are vessels of that. We are manifestations of that consciousness, of that universal consciousness, and that we are in fact all one, and we are in fact connected on this plane, right? You don't have to believe all that stuff, but when you start to investigate it, it's not only connecting the dots in the political, the last 100 years of what we've been conditioned to. And I'll make another video, maybe a private one, because I don't want to talk out loud about, the things that I'm learning about from many people. I had a fantastic conversation this morning. We've been through 100 years or more of mental conditioning, right? Based on fear, and there's an agenda to it. It is an extraction of wealth from the earth itself. So that's why the Gaia catalog, which I'm working on right now, and I need your help, by the way. As I do this, I'm doing a lot of it with AI, with the help of AI, because it's a pretty complex thing, but it's actually what's we've come up with, me and the AI, and some people I've been speaking to over the last couple of days, is extremely interesting. And what do I want to say? It's not so much interesting. It is relevant and physically, like the quantum physicality of it, the physics of it are brilliant. They're really brilliant. Once it launches, and I hope you're already a sustainee and a coach or ambassador, prior to the actual launch, because of course everyone who contributes at this stage is a founder, right? And any profits, any revenue sharing, and so on, that's happening from now. It's the classic thing. People think investment, is something where, oh, I saw it on the stock market. By the time it gets to the stock market, it's way overpriced, right? And then it might go up a little more, but most often, like crypto coins and so on, they go down, right? The big hype is already from the founders, people like yourself, who join in or at least support financially and get your name and your, onto the ledger, that you were part of the early group that helped make this happen in the world. And maybe it's not going to save the world, but it might, it might be exactly what we need. This decentralized, distributed, federated system of catalogs of communities and how they serve themselves, right? They serve others, so there's a somewhat, of a foreign direct investment, right? And there's also the identification of gaps, maybe where opportunities are for young people. We call them planetpreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs. Like where are the places for young people to start a little business or start a little service or have something that the community will need? Because as the supply chains collapse around us and the wars happen and disruption and so on, these things like Amazon and Alibaba and Temu and so on, they won't be able to continue. Because if you can't get a ship with a whole bunch of plastic toys across the ocean, you're not going to get the stuff. And so there will be huge disruptions, right? If it's from a war, if it's from a climactic, if a natural disaster, like I said about electricity, it could be from many, many, many different reasons or combinations. They call it a poly crisis. It might be from many, many problems, but I'm not guaranteeing. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope I'm completely wrong. But even if I'm wrong, it's still a great plan. It's a great plan to get people together in their own communities to look after each other, identify the opportunities to make money within the community. So the circulation of fiat currency or cryptocurrency or whatever currency, barter systems, whatever we end up doing, localized, right? Local for the need of the local community. However you do that, that's what we've been doing for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. That's how we got here. Not because we had some stock market or money or fiat money or Bitcoin. No, we didn't get here because of that. We got here because we got along with each other. Because we built communities and we served each other. That's how we got here. That's how you got here. That's how everybody got here. So now we've got to turn it completely upside down. Now we're operating on fear instead of cooperation. Right? It's very, very important distinction. Now we're operating on a fearful way of being. We fear our neighbors. We fear our governments. We fear, the other people, languages, religions, skin color. We fear. Everything's fear. We fear, not having the right jacket or socks or, a hat. We fear all of this stuff. Right? And that's just ridiculous. We shouldn't be fearing anything. If there's a tiger running up behind you, you fear that, or someone pointing a gun at you, you should be definitely careful about exacerbating the situation. However, how did that situation come about in the first place? Did you have people around you who were protecting you? Right? I don't mean with guns. I mean, the whole society was building on mental health, provision of shelter for everyone. There's an enormous number of homeless people. I'm homeless, right? I happen to be staying somewhere. It's quite nice, but I don't have a home, right? No family, no home, no money. That's why I'm doing a GoFundMe. Please help. But I don't want people to live like me. I want people to have stability. I want people to have a life that is, especially for children, sort of moving around, tugging little infants or, toddlers along the street when there's bombs flying around, or guns or masked men and vans. I don't want that. I don't want that for them. I want them to play and have fun and meet friends and have, all the adventures of a little person, a little kid. I want that to happen for all children everywhere, regardless of their, ethnicity or their socioeconomic circumstances. That's how we got here too, right? Childhood. That's why we call it Make Childhood Great Again. I may be dropping the great again thing because, the guy that's making that famous, he's not turning out to be a very good guy. But on the other hand, some people know the joke, right? Make great again. Well, we're saying make childhood great again. And that is a good thing. We should make it great again because we've moved it out of being a great time of life. We've diminished it for children. And so we do have to do it again. But anyway, please feedback. If you think Make Childhood Great Again is not a good plan for us to use, maybe it turns people off and they don't donate and they don't support, please tell me, give me feedback. And the opposite, if you think no, it is a jarring and it's like it makes me pay attention because I've heard the phrase and I say what but I see that don't make make childhood great again. Yes, I agree with that. So, it's a bit of a balance, so I really would value your response to that. So the heal yourself, heal your community, heal the earth, LOVE, lifestyle of voluntary effort. I really believe that ConscienceLAND is a way that is very modern. It's very trendy. It's very much what we need to be doing. Not preppers like guns, bristling with guns and bunkers. I don't think only the very wealthy are going to do this, and are going to have a miserable life. I don't know how many people have lived in, a tube in the ground for very long, but they're going to go nuts. And they're no matter how much of an entertainment system they have, you're going to want to see sunlight. You're going to want to breathe fresh air. This is going to happen. And, after a few months or a year of being underground or at a bunker, I think they will envy those who maybe in the case of a terrible war, went in the early days. Because that's another part of what I want to communicate with you. You don't have to believe it, but, about ConscienceLAND is that in my own case, I can only speak for myself, I don't fear death. People say, oh, well, what if you say such and such, or what if you go such and such a place, and those people who know that, that you're communicating with people about how to live a lifestyle of health, happiness, and sustainability, and they don't like that. What if they kill you? Well, I guess that's part of the plan. I'm not going to live forever. I'm pretty old now, so if I go sooner than later, that's okay, because I have a belief, and I have a belief that we are all one. We are all part of the universal consciousness in ConscienceLAND, right? ConscienceLAND is real to me. It is the borderless, wherever you are is where ConscienceLAND is. Wherever your feet hit the ground, that's ConscienceLAND. And maybe we're not in this physical form, but our spirit never dies. We know this. We know that energy can never be destroyed, created nor destroyed. So for sure, that energy doesn't go away. It transmutes into something else. And I think it's spirit. I think it's just, as religions and many religions have said for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I think that that's what it is. So that's the fear. This last century for sure, a lot of fear has been thrown around relative to death. Fear of death. And I think that we should try to help each other to get over that fear and live life. every day. Like today, I had a great time. I worked on the video. I talked to people. I planned. We're gonna. We need to raise money, so we're planning. And please help out. Again, I keep reminding. The GoFundMe. It's in the comments. I think you can see. You can click on that. Because that's it. Oh, and a friend of mine from another part of the world. We spoke on the phone yesterday, and he said, don't, people will support you. Just, and you are doing what you're doing because you're, passionate about it, and you're doing the right thing, and I respect it. This is the other chap speaking. I respect it, and, I've seen it through the years, right? And you never seem to give up. which is part of that not fear of death thing. I don't fear it. So I'm not giving up. I know I'm on the right path. I know I'm trying to help people. I know I'm trying to help the world. I know I'm making a difference for kids. I know it. Maybe even just one kid. It's okay. I know it's more than that, but that's all right, even if it's just one. So can we do it? Yes, we can. So happy Fridays for Future. Please consider going to sdgbanner, banner.com, and you'll see what we're doing for, not just for COP30 in Brazil. This is actually part of the World Sustainability Tour, and we want you on the tour, right? You might come physically on the tour. We have to raise money for that, but maybe you have some. So bring yourself, help others also to participate. And that's the tour. That's spreading the message of ConscienceLAND. And more than a message, we're introducing the Gaia catalog to people around the world in their communities. And this mechanism, it's like shopping. It's like, sustainable shopping. Imagine it's shopping with a conscience, and it's shopping that does good and rewards you. It rewards you for the decisions you make about what you buy. Instead of I bought a Versace bag or a Gucci, and I'm famous and special because I own this thing. No, people don't care anymore. Only the dumbest people in the world care about that. The ones that have absolutely nothing in their lives except material, wealth, like a watch or something. I don't even have a watch, I haven't had a watch for years. Right? None of that is important. But who are you when you walk in a room? What have you done for anybody else? How have you made the world a better place? Then people start to be interested, right? Because as we progress into this, post, I don't know what the word is, but it's a post-something world. We're going through a very evil crisis, very dark times right now. I don't know I don't know if it's the darkest times. I think there are darker times coming, quite honestly. And that's another reason for being early on in ConscienceLAND, because we need to train each other. We need to build our coaching skills, not just for our own self-healing. It's for others in our communities. And the products and services and so on that we will need, we'll all need them. We cannot rely on central governments or corporations. We can't rely on them anymore, right? The evidence is clear. They're supporting genocide. They are putting poisons in the food, over too much sugar, all kinds of chemicals, the plastics, all the rest of it. And, and we don't grow our own food. We don't make sure our own water is clean. So we have to pick up that ISR. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know that this is a complete ecosystem, right? The individual social responsibility, the three fingers, the validation symbol, the every Wednesday, shy, smile, change, and unplug. All of this stuff is very consistent. It's very, natural, right? We're not asking people to stand on their head and spit nickels. We're not asking people to do weird stuff. It's all very, what we should be doing anyway. We're just naming it. LOVE, lifestyle of voluntary effort. We're just naming it and giving it cohesion and coherence. That's what we're trying to do. so that this confusion and all the AI distraction, which I suffer from too, don't worry, I get off, social media, I watch too much of it, start in AI. I was just doing some animation with the Sustainees, while tip and pin, or while tip and DPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure network, and it works. It's so cool. It's not perfect because the AI doesn't really know what you're asking it, but it did a pretty good job. And so, but it's a bit of a rabbit hole. I spent quite a bit of time going down that place. So I learned what its capabilities are. It's not a competitor for my own hand drawing, right? My own hand drawing is better than the AI in what I want to do. So it's okay. I feel okay as a creator. I feel okay because it's still the imagination. It's still the creative spark. It's still the understanding of the relationship between a lot of things and how you can do, make that happen. In AI, you don't have that connection between all those things. AI only deals with what it's in front of it, and it forgets what it did before because it doesn't really have a memory, right? It can remember some of the, especially text and so on, that you have communicated with it, but essentially it's taking every time you approach it as a fresh new conversation, right? Yes, it refers back to what it's said before, but it's not like a human being in this way. So yes, okay, we're heading toward AGI and superintelligence and so on. Yes, it's possible that it might appear really quite quickly, especially with the robotics. It seems to be a heck of a lot of progress in the physical creation of robots that have, pretty amazing human-like skills. And we're still very much at the beginning of this. So that's true. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. I wouldn't worry about the AI takeover. Number one, because there's not much you can do about it, except in ConscienceLAND. With the SDG banner, with the Gaia catalog, right? Part of the effort of the Gaia catalog is to solve the SDGs. Now, we only have 4 years left, okay? If you follow what we've been talking about, I've been talking about for 10 years, right? Because it started in 2015, the SDGs. For 10 years, I've been, trying to help the SDGs to get going. Now, it's a bit of a problem because in 2019, for sure, this is after we brought the banners up Everest. And I won't mention names here because I don't know. I don't want to get demonetized or there's no money coming out of it. I don't want to get banned. But an organization which I've mentioned many, many times before, and it because of its location in Switzerland, it took over the SDGs in 2019. And the UN itself kind of like ran out of money, as it's often doing, and just kind of handed it over to these guys. I'm guessing that they thought that these guys would do the right thing and make those goals happen. But I don't think they had that intention, because how much have you heard about it in the last 5 or 6 years? Not much, right? So they just sat on it like companies sitting on patents, that are competing with what their agenda is. So I think that, and plus, after a few years of promoting the SDGs, it became so apparent that the middle ones, like infrastructure of cities, and even number 8, unlimited economic growth, it's not possible. Like that's one of our problems, is that number 8. They say, oh well, you need jobs, so we have to have unlimited growth. Well, no, there's lots of jobs that you can do that don't require unlimited growth. Unlimited growth is a problem, and it's not sustainable. You can't have unlimited growth. You got to have cycles, right? You got to have exploitation and then regeneration, and then exploitation and regeneration. You can't just exploit forever. You can't do it. So, some of those SDGs were made by corporations and governments who want to make money, through growth. And that's all they know. It's not that they're bad or evil, although some of them are. It's that they are stupid. They just don't really think things through. They're bureaucratic. They got a lot of departments, and they're led by people who are greedy. So, what do you expect? Right? But we're not stupid, and we're not greedy. And we realize that the SDGs, like the first 7 of them, and let's see, 13, 14, 15, are necessary. We have to deal with them. Climate, hunger, poverty, gender equality, education, clean water, clean energy. We have to. There's no question. We've got to do that. Are they doing it for us? No, they're not doing it. So we have to do it for ourselves. So how are we going to do it for ourselves? We're not organized to do it. We don't have a people's UN. There isn't one. Well, that's what ConscienceLAND is. ConscienceLAND is the people's UN. It's the UN is the United Nations, so it's not the UN, it's the UP, right? United Peoples. Right? This is what we are representing, or the ideology of what we're doing. And the Gaia catalog, I believe, with your help and investment as a Sustaini coach or ambassador, and just get on this project with me, because there's a whole world to serve, right? You want to make money? I mean, if that's your main thing is money, well, why not get on the sustainable bandwagon? Because what's going to be supported in the future? Unsustainable? No. Everything's going to have to be sustainable. And if it isn't sustainable, it's not going to pass. And you're not going to make money. You're going to lose money. So get on the path of, if money is your motivator, get on the path of making money in this new era. And the era is we've run out of space to exploit. Now we have to regenerate ourselves. We got to regenerate our communities and the relationships in our communities. And we've got to allow the earth to regenerate. It's not that we can fix it, because we basically can't, except to stop hurting it, and then remediate some of, take the toxic things and stop putting plastics in the ocean. We've got to stop doing the things that we're doing that are absolutely making life for all forms of life difficult. And we've got to start doing the things that make our lives full and prosperous, right? And it's not just money. Prosperity is about good relationships, good conditions, living conditions, happiness, health. That's prosperity, right? The amount of money you have in your bank is really inconsequential, and it's worth less and less with every passing month, right? Fiat money is like becoming toilet paper. And this is why the wealthy are just buying assets. All they're doing is they're extracting cash out of us and buying assets with those cash. Because they know that they're hoping, and I hope too, that after this serious crisis period, I don't know how long it'll last. I don't want to make any predictions, but, after this thing, we will come out of it, and we like you and I will come out, if I'm still here, we will come out really powerful, because we will be very competent. Right? It's like people coming out of the Second World War, right? The ones that survived, they were very competent, very, very skilled at staying alive in that period of time. It'll be 100 times worse this time around, because they weren't as dependent as we are on all the services that we take for granted. Electricity, water coming out of the tap, streets not full of tanks. They had streets full of tanks, but some of them didn't even have electricity in their homes in that era, right? Some did, of course, but a number didn't. But everybody does now. So everybody's, and what about social media and cell phones, right? Like there won't be any, like that will be shut down. Or if it's not shut down by, natural disaster or environmental, like crisis of energy production, if that doesn't happen, it'll be censored. It won't have any real value. Last thing before I go, I saw a thing on the social media today. For the first time in history of humanity, the number of articles and just the information written by AI has, like the number of articles written by AI has crossed the number of articles written by humans. Or AI-assisted human articles. Like people writing without AI was everybody at 3 years ago. It's pretty much everybody. Today, it's crossing. It's like more than 50% of the articles and things, information that you're seeing online is generated by AI. Some of it is just modified by AI and to make better reading or nice graphics or something. But I think a very large part is junk. It's just garbage, and maybe not even true. Like a lot of it is just pictures and words, and all it is fancy, shiny things that is capturing your eyeballs and sending you advertisement. So really, we're in a very, very big crisis online, where we need the Gaia catalog. We need the authentication of the three-fingered validation symbol. We need to know where these things came from, who's benefiting from them, what's in it, what are the ingredients, and who does it hurt? You won't find those items will not be in the catalog. If they're from a group or a corporation or a state that is hurting humanity, now won't show up in the Gaia catalog. Of course it won't. It's not part of the lifestyle of health, happiness, and sustainability. No. If they're not fitting those categories, the lifestyle of health, happiness, and sustainability, if they don't meet those criteria, basically, they're not in the catalog. So you'll know in the Gaia catalog, everybody will know who is not in the catalog is either just hasn't been signed up by you yet. That's how you make revenue. You sign up people into the catalog, and that gives you revenue. But you'll know by omission. If they're not in the catalog, especially if they're a well-known entity, brand, person, or place, if they're not in the catalog, look on some other networks and say, why are they not in the Gaia catalog? Oh my gosh, they did this to these people, or they put this ingredient in here, or they took this rainforest and chopped it down. Whatever it is, that will be the way you will know, and the other people who announce it, right? That'll be how you'll know that anything you buy through the Gaia catalog is vetted by people, human beings, other humans in communities like yours. They're looking at these products and they're saying, would I feed this to my family? What is the information about this? Oh my gosh, no, I wouldn't feed it to them. So that product is rejected. Not just because one person said they don't like it. That would be stupid. But if the proper number in quadratic voting and so on, if the proper number of people say no, it's not coming in the catalog, it doesn't get in the catalog. And the other side of it, if many people say, yeah, no, that small business or even a large business who has ethics, Patagonia comes to mind. Like there are companies that build on the basis of ethics, and they will be they will be increased because people will say, oh, they appear in the Gaia catalog. Oh, wow. I guess all the propaganda that I was hearing is true, about them, because the population and all the sustainees and coaches and ambassadors of ConscienceLAND are saying, yeah, we've looked into it ourselves, and yeah, these guys are okay. Right? I think it's a very exciting opportunity. And I hope that you certainly help out with the GoFundMe. It's a very small amount we're asking for. It's really just to see who's out there who is generous, who is aware that the generosity at this time is indicative of many, many future successes. So it's the people who are generous now, we want to help them, of course. We want them to be in at the beginning of something absolutely monumental, right? And anyway, even if it doesn't, work out in our dreams the way we anticipate, it's still a good effort. It's still a good effort. LOVE. It's still a good effort. We should completely share that. Lifestyle of voluntary effort. LOHHAS, lifestyle of health, happiness, and sustainability. Of course, we should be looking at every product that we buy or we share with our families or friends. We should look at every product and see if we're, complicit in poisoning them or, getting them under some medical treatments or something that are really not good for us in the long run. That's the world that we need to build. And we can do it because we have the power to do it. So peace +1, right? Peace sign, and add 1 makes 3. The 3-finger sustainability symbol. Peace +1. Join the fun in ConscienceLAND. Nice to have a chance to chat with you. Happy Fridays for Future.